It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. You know, last week I started that leasing revolution. Had a great response. Great response from the audience, folks. There's only like probably 1% of the people, thought I was trying to destroy the document imaging channel. Most of the people realize there's total dysfunction in leasing, especially that premature buyout crap I talked about, storing equipment in warehouses. I mean, that's just totally insane. Got some interesting feedback from some dealers out in the marketplace of some of the shenanigans around that. It was almost disturbing at best. But here's the deal, my friends. The reason I started the leasing revolution is because I don't want you to overspec and oversell A3s. That's why I started the A4 revolution. I don't want you to overlease. That's why I started the leasing revolution. I don't want you to use leasing to grab a whole bunch of money up front because maybe you're insufficient in cash flow. So you want to grab a whole bunch of money up front, as much as you possibly can, and then hope everything works out on the service component of the deal. You can do that with print to a degree. I mean, at the end of the day, if a disaster happens and you front-loaded a whole bunch of maintenance on a printer or a copy machine, it's not going to end the customer's world. But my fear is that we're going to take some of these crazy shenanigans we do with leasing in the document imaging channel, and we're going to try to deliver IT services with those same shenanigans. That scares the hell out of me. That's why I started the leasing revolution. Because folks, when you start delivering IT services, when you start doing vendor management, when you start managing contracts for end users that are subscription based, where the customer pays a monthly fee, you can't just decide to finance all 5 years up front. Get all the money, put it in your coffers, and then pay that pass-through dollars to those supporting vendors that help you support your end user. IT services has tons of pass-through dollars involved with it. You may be paying for backup services. You're going to charge your end users for those backup services. It's all charged on a monthly basis. And then you're going to pay the backup service provider. Could you imagine the opportunity to do some shenanigans around leasing with pass-through dollars? And I'm afraid if we don't have a leasing revolution, our industry is just going to think that it's okay to do these things. Because what surprised me the most was, when I talked about the premature lease, storing the equipment in the warehouse, which violates every leasing company's agreement, how many people thought that was normal? Surprised the shit out of me. I mean, they think it's normal. Yeah, we could do that. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. And I think some vendors are going to find out how big of a deal that is. But folks, as we move into IT services, we can't be trusted advisors with our customers if our whole goal is to see how much money we can get when the deal's signed on a document called a lease. It can't be about how much money do we get right now. It needs to be about what does the customer need to finance in a hardware aspect. How can we help them make that hardware purchase easier on a monthly payment? And then they can pay us monthly, of course, for all the services. It's the total opposite of what we do in the print business, where we go in there and we sacrifice all the service money we can. That's why we oversell. I did the video on that. We sell the big giant A3 because the service is cheaper. And we can use the extra money for the hardware part of the lease. So when the customer signs the lease and we fax it off or we email it off to the leasing company, guess what? We get all the money now. We can't do that in IT services. It's not about getting all the money now. It's about getting the money for services. Some of that money you're going to have to pass through to the vendors that help you support your end user. It's about that monthly reoccurring services revenue. That's the blood of an IT services organization. It's not this fantasy about throwing all kinds of money on the deal up front and hope everything works out over 5 years. Can't be done in IT. It just can't be done. And in order for us to change these habits, we got to have some new mindsets or we're never going to get new results. We got to have our friends in the leasing industry. Here's the 6 main players: CIT, US Bank, Great America, DLL, Wells Fargo, and Lee. We got to have our friends work with the industry, work with those dealer partners, readdress these partner programs. Here was a great comment I got. Of course, it was behind the curtain. A lot of people don't like to put stuff out there in the world to see because they're afraid. Revolutions are tough. You got to be bold. If you want to fight for a better way, don't be afraid. Come out and say things that are right. If it's always about the customer, if it's always about the end user, you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. If your goal is to help end users get a better experience from an industry, you're not wrong. if you're going to show a better way. If you're going to expose dysfunction, you're not wrong. But this person said to me something that made a whole lot of sense, and I want everybody in the industry to think about this over the weekend. And what they said was this: if the document imaging channel has such great relationships, if they deliver service above and beyond expectations, why do they feel a need to hold their customers hostage in some kind of financial agreement if the customer decides they want a better experience from somebody else, or if the customer decides to end the relationship? Why can't our industry just accept that and just move on? We hold them hostage. We hold them hostage with a financial agreement. Folks, in IT services, that won't work. There's too many moving parts. It's way too complicated for that nonsense. And your customers won't go along with it. And if you try to do it, it'll be short-lived. Because in IT services, it's about being remarkable. It's about being so damn remarkable. That's what it's about. And ladies and gentlemen, shenanigans around leasing is not remarkable. It may be remarkable for you, but I said this before. If our whole business model is for the benefit of an industry to maintain outdated processes so they can live along a little bit longer in dysfunction, and it's not about the end users that we service and support, well, that's the definition. That's the definition of a dysfunctional business model. So think about these things over the weekend, because this leasing revolution, it ain't stopping. It ain't stopping, folks. I'm going to ramp it up. I'm going to find a partner here to help me. I assure you. Might take some time, but I'm going to find someone. And we're going to try to revolutionize leasing so that it matches what those end users will expect as our industry transition to the broader deliverable of IT services. Because, my friends, we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all on Monday.